This is a presentation prepared for the last meeting of the Comenius program financed by the European Commission, to be held in Zara, Turkey from May the 17th to the 22nd, 2015. Seeds of Peers, Comenius Project 2013-2015. The first activity, which was carried out at the beginning of the school year, tried to build a bridge between the first and second period in the biennium. A set of poems to do with peace was selected, read, translated and commented on by Comenius students and their classmates from upper secondary and bachillerato. The 25th of November marked the commemoration of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The school choir performed live in front of an audience made up of students, teachers and local authorities with a repertoire of songs in 3 languages, Galician, Spanish and English. Before break time, students of bachillerato and participants in the Comenius program read 2 long poems, one in Galician and the other in English. In what has already become a school tradition, the School Day of Non-Violence and Peace was the starting point of a series of events aimed at raising awareness among the school community. This initiative was taken as a good opportunity to integrate current affairs with the school syllabus. In the aftermath of the Charlie Hebdo attacks, second of bachillerato students were given a response article by Alex Kane published in the Irish Times entitled "Best Response to Terror Acts is Not to Fear Others." A discussion on matters of democracy, individual and collective freedoms, and radicalism ensued.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery.
Cinema in Peace, our school's film cycle for 2014-2015, projected a total of 4 films in the local Palace of Culture right next to Xunqueira número 1. Bachillerato students worked with Invectis, a story of post-apartheid South Africa and rugby as part of the healing process for national segregation. And The Great Dictator, a Chaplin masterpiece which still today stands as a vindication of humanity and love in the face of barbarism. Secondary students, on the other hand, were offered a selection of short films dealing with values like kindness, social conscience, environmentalism, the acceptance of difference and immigration. The cycle was closed with Disney's Remember the Titans, a heartwarming story which portrays deeply ingrained racism in United States schools. The film cycle has had more than 20 editions already, and it has produced text, artworks and debates that have distinguished our schools from other for years. Camellias are said to be the symbol of International Women's Day in countries such as Italy and Russia. Students of Xunqueira took the opportunity of creating a mural where everyone was invited to contribute with their opinions. The question of what equality means and the importance of working together has been the main focus of this commemoration. Humanism is the only, I would go so far as saying, the final resistance we have against inhuman practices and injustices that disfigure human history. Edward Said, Humanism and Democratic Criticism, 2004. After the attack on the Charlie Hebdo headquarters and the village of Montrouge, a dossier of reactions in the international press was compiled to work with more than 200 bachillerato students, from The Guardian to the Japan Times. Groups of students read articles written in English, summarized their contents in a few lines, and contributed their opinions on the subject.
Hello. You have been working with the Charlie Hebdo dossier for the last few months. What's your opinion about the attacks themselves and the consequences more than 4 months later?
Hello, my name is Pablo Costas. I think the mass media played a very important role in this act. They say the attack were made by the Muslim terrorists, and that made the people think things that shouldn't be like that. For example, I never seen a newspaper or anywhere four Catholic people kill someone. Why when it's a people is from another religion make an act of terrorism that is murder people? I mean, a murder is a murder. It doesn't care the religion, but that could make people think different about the Muslims, and I don't find it right.
The problem is in the media. Okay, they use some vocabulary and some words than if the terrorist attack in this case or in another new. If they don't use this, for example, for Muslim people kill friends, Okay. The problem, the consequences. First of all, in the society that a Muslim person is living in, for example, in France, is probably people who never had been discriminated since the terrorist attack happened. Probably they will feel something like, well, people discriminate me now, and why? Just because 4 Muslim people or 5 Muslim people, or if it doesn't matter if they were 5 or 100, or it was just a group of persons that are Muslim, are a kind of Muslim extremists, and well, but you cannot generalize about the whole society because 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 made something. Just that is my opinion. I think.
I think the same that David. Moreover, I think that the governments can control more our lives for these terrorist attacks, because the people have scared, and the government can control more our lives. And I think that not all the Muslims are terrorists. People don't think that.
Thank you.
Although Victor Hugo's dream has not yet been fulfilled, it is true that Europe has become a point of reference not only politically, but also socially and culturally, of which this Comenius project could be regarded as the perfect example. Children of the first year of secondary have devoted one whole week to research the way Europe, as we understand it today, was formed, and, more importantly, how Europeans signed a pact based on concord and collaboration. The subject of much debate in the media these days. The students also share their views of what Europe means to them as students and citizens. In this overview of organizations and institutions related to peace, community work and intercultural understanding, Comenius students and their fellows from secondary and bachillerato looked for NGOs and state bodies dedicated to reintegration and reinsertion. The visit to Alhama Penitentiary and the video interviews which were recorded before and after the visit led to the edition of an hour-and-a-half-long documentary in 2 parts. 1, a look at prison from the outside, and 2, a look at prison from the inside.
Hola. Primera pregunta. ¿Qué sabíais de las prisiones antes de vuestra visita a la Alhama?
Pues poco, de hecho casi nada. Lo que sale en las películas es un poco la imagen que creo que tenemos casi todos. pero aunque no nos la creamos es la imagen que nos ponen de una prisión.
Pero yo creo que no tiene nada que ver una cosa con la otra, porque es totalmente distinta. Por lo que vimos, vamos, yo creo que no tiene mucho que ver lo que ves en las películas, en la ficción, con la realidad.
Yo tampoco sabía nada y lo que sabía era lo que salía en las películas o en la televisión y la verdad es que es bastante diferente.
¿Y qué os ha cambiado la visita?
Pues no sé, supongo que vas allí esperando encontrarte un tipo de gente, a lo mejor, que resulta que no son así, son personas normales que han cometido sus errores en la vida, que no han sabido afrontar las cosas como todo el mundo sabe afrontarlas o como la mayoría de la gente sabe y que la sociedad acaba excluyendo. Y te cambia en ese sentido porque, pues eso, conoces a gente igual que tú, que ha tenido una vida más complicada, nada más.
Y por unas cosas u otras, pues la vida le llevó a hacer esas inconvenientes de la vida que al final, pues mira, acabaron ahí, pero yo creo que los trataron más bien como, perdón por la expresión, pero monos de feria, y son personas como nosotros, totalmente normales, pero eso, y creo que deberían tratarlos mejor y los medios ser mejores, desde mi punto de vista.
Porque no dejan de ser humanos y se pueden equivocar y tienen el derecho a hacerlo.
¿Cómo podrían cambiar los centros penitenciarios para mejor?
Creo que poniendo más funcionarios, porque a mi modo de ver faltaban bastantes. No sé, en el sector en el que estuvimos, que era un sector al parecer más tranquilo, pero en el que había más problemática y tal, creo que faltaban bastante funcionarios, talleres, modos de apoyar a los presos, de reinserción y todo eso. Creo que falta bastante todo.
Lo de talleres sí estoy de acuerdo porque está muy bien lo del módulo a donde fuimos de drogodependencia, pero también debería de haber otro tipo de módulos que le hiciesen cambiar de la forma de ser y
que tuviesen el mismo apoyo que el módulo en el que estuvimos.
Claro, porque yo creo que todos los módulos no son los mismos y yo creo que algunos son bastante más duros de lo que sabemos, vamos.
Y que sean más amables con ellos y que no nos traten como si fueran una basura.
Claro, tratarlos de igual y no como aquel bicho que...
Bueno, última pregunta. ¿Cómo resultó vuestra experiencia? ¿Cómo ha sido esa visión de la prisión desde dentro?
Pues la verdad, bueno, yo quería comentar una cosa, que Claudia, mi compañera y yo fuimos en el mismo grupo, cuando fuimos a la visita, y es curioso porque nos encontramos a la salida, vino uno de ellos, un preso junto a nuestra, y nos cogió y nos dijo: todo lo que veis es un espejismo. Y ahí la verdad es que me dejó bastante fría, porque nos van a ver una cosa que yo creo que no es así. Yo creo que nos la pintan muy bien, pero la realidad es una cruda.
Sí, porque claro, veías la contradicción de que te venían los funcionarios y los guardas y todos estos, pues pintándote la cosa como si fuese muy bonito, de colores, y luego te venían los presos y te decían todo lo contrario, que no tenía nada que ver la cárcel con lo que estábamos viendo y que sufrían bastante y pues en ese sentido pues te deja un poco chocada, porque si ni siquiera los propios funcionarios que están trabajando con esas personas son capaces de hacer algo por ellos, pues...
Sí. Yo opino un poco como ellas, que les tendría que... Hay dos puntos de vista, el que te da el funcionario y el que te da el preso. Y es bastante duro porque la realidad que viven es
muy fastidiada, por así decirlo. Yo creo que lo que vimos, a ver, no digo que no sea así al 100%, pero no sé, es muy distinto, yo creo, a lo que viven ellos, a lo que vivimos nosotros. Sí.
Muchas gracias. After the trip to Alhama, a small town in the province of Pontevedra, the group of students and teachers profited from the opportunity to visit an ancient archaeological site in Ourense, where they could see the Neolithic remains of Galician settlers, Landsbrücker. We thank the whole school community for their continuing support. Without them, it would not have been possible to understand the importance of a collaborative European programme that has brought together so many people.